Well, hello there. Welcome once more to Concho's Kitchen. And if this is your first time stopping by, I'd like to say a very warm welcome to you. It is going to be a cook with me today. We'll be making some chicken, jollof rice, and some stir-fried veggies. I really hope you stick around and do this with me. It will be an honor and pleasure to cook with you. So I have here my chicken. I actually have 2 of them. And I brine them for approximately 6 hours. So in my brine, I have some lemon, thyme, garlic, peppercorns, and onion in here. Of course, I have some salt in here. That is what actually the brine consists of. Brine is salt water. I washed my chicken before brining it, but it was hard for me to peel off that yellowish film, as you can see right here. And I'm going to now give it a thorough wash, trying to use the lemon to scrape everything off. And I'm going to send this to the sink to do a better job. My chicken is clean now. I am going to cut it. I'm actually trying to spatchcock it, and so that is like you butterflying the chicken. So I'm going to cut off the spine or the backbone. In cutting it, you want to go on either side of the tail of the chicken. So I cut that already, and now I'm going to just go from the neck all the way to that other side of the tail. So you're moving the tail and the whole backbone from your chicken, just like this. So the backbone that I removed, I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use it to make stock, which I will use to cook my jollof. So I've added some onion, some celery, carrot, and ginger to that, as well as some garlic, and I'm going to bring that to a boil. So whilst that is cooking, I'm going to season my chicken. I have here some salt on it. I'm also going to use my all-purpose seasoning. This is a wet seasoning that I blend and just save in my freezer in my fridge. I'm going to link the recipe for this here. It is very simple. It has quite a lot of ingredients in here, so definitely all you need on your chicken is your salt and this, and it's just going to be perfect. I'm also going to crack some black pepper on this, and pretty much that is all the seasoning that I'm going to put on my chicken. To make sure that my chicken comes out not looking dry but glossy and beautiful, I'm going to just drizzle some extra virgin olive oil on it, just a little bit. About 2 tablespoons, rub it onto my chicken with all the marinade. I'm going to make sure that the all-purpose seasoning is not just on the outer part of the chicken. I'm going to lift the skin just like I have and apply some of the marinade in between the skin and the meat itself. And then you just want to rub it so you get to spread it all the way to the thigh and every part of it. I found these potatoes, so I'm going to add it to it. I've just peeled it and just cut it up. So I cut one into like about 4 pieces. I've added some salt and pepper to that. I'm just going to toss this and just place them around my chicken, and they will bake perfectly with the chicken. By the time the chicken is done, this is going to be done. So the potatoes are here on my chicken. I'm going to let this sit for about ½ hour just so the marinade gets to get into the chicken. I don't need that much longer of a time because remember the chicken was already in brine. It had a lot of stuff in there as well. So it's perfectly seasoned. It's going to be juicy to the very bone. So it's set aside now. I'm going to start making my jollof. I have here 2 cups of pre-cooked tomatoes. It is very cooked, very dry. As you can see, it is very thick, so it's almost like a concentrate at this point, and a little bit of that goes a long way. So I'm pretty much just warming up my stew before I add in my rice. I think it's good now. I have a little bit of pan drippings from when I made some chicken. So this is just a little bit of concentrate chicken broth. I actually cooked some chicken breast. So the oil that you actually see is from the olive oil that I used to cook the chicken. So I'm not going to remove that. If it was actual fat from the chicken, I would have lifted that off. And I'm going to just keep stirring until this is melted, and then we can add our rice. So I've washed 6 cups of rice and I've put that in my stew. At this point, I'm just going to stir it up, let it toast a little bit in the tomato stew before I add any liquid to this. So to revive our stew, I normally don't put too much of any of the spices in it when I make a batch because I want it to taste unique with whatever you make. So I've added some more curry powder in here. I did put some curry in the stew when I made it. It was a big batch of stew. Normally when I make big batches of tomato stew, I try to be very mindful about how much spice I put in it. Just a little bit. Sometimes I actually make it very blank with almost nothing. Just so that when you are going to actually use it to cook whatever else you are going to make, most likely your jollof or your wachi stew, you can use the stock from your meat or just put whatever seasoning that you want in there, the spices and the herbs and everything, so whatever you make tastes different. I hope you understand me, because if you put everything in there, every time you make jollof it's going to taste the same way, and you really don't want that. So it's now time for me to actually add my stock that I made, my broth I should say. So this is like a light broth. It's been boiling the whole time when I was toasting my rice and everything, and now it's ready. So I'm just going to strain it right onto my rice. This is probably about 4 cups that I got, and I'm going to also just rinse my meat, everything, my ingredients with a little bit more water, just so that I know that I got everything of that chicken bone, and set that aside. And then I'm going to stir my rice, and then we can let it cook. This is going to be so flavorful. We didn't waste anything. We have all the goodness of our chicken bone that was just going to go in the trash in our jollof. You don't need a lot of other seasonings and MSGs. This way, I get a lot of questions from people about the fact that I don't use seasoning cubes. I do use seasoning cubes sometimes. When I use them, you see, if so, you will know I use them in some of my videos. I just tend to not use it a lot because of course we all know they are not good for you, and in the time when my dad came to live with me, he couldn't have any of that, so I had to learn to just use my herbs and other things to make my food taste good. And so that is the reason. So anyway, the jollof is covered. I have my chicken ready. My oven is preheated to 375 degrees, and I'm going to cook my chicken. Our rice has cooked for about 17 minutes on medium to low heat. It has absorbed all the water from it. So at this point, it is almost dry, not all the way. It has a little bit of moisture that is going to cook it all the way through. I'm just stirring to make sure that the heat is evenly distributed, and also to make sure that the rice gets to cook very well, and we don't end up having some raw grains in it. So once I'm done turning it, I'm going to cover it with some parchment paper and the lid, so that all the moisture and the heat is actually trapped in here, and that heat is what is going to cook your rice to perfection. Delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, delicious, 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 yeah, delicious. Can you smell the aroma? Yeah, from Kwachiwa's kitchen. Yeah. So our rice has cooked at this point for an extra 12 minutes. It is almost there, but I still have a few raw grains in here. So I'm going to stir it one more time just to make sure that the heat is well distributed and the grains all get to cook evenly. And I'll cover it again, and then we'll come back and check it later. So as you can see, it is almost done. Just look at how gorgeous. And I'm using a fork instead of my spatula or any other thing, because today is one of those days that I feel like I might end up breaking the grains. So I'm using that. You can use whatever you want, but just be mindful and not stir too much to break your beautiful grains. I'm going to cover this and let it cook for an extra 10 minutes. That should do it. It should be done by then. So checking on our chickens, they've been in here for about 45 minutes. It is not all the way done. It could use a little bit of basting. So I'm just trying to reapply some of the juices that has been rendered from the meat onto it. I'm not using my baster today. I'm just using a spoon just to scoop and then just spread or pour over my chicken, just to make sure that it is moist and it doesn't end up just burning. At this point, if you feel like your wings are getting very brown, you could definitely go ahead and apply some aluminum foil to the wing just so you tint it and it doesn't burn all the way. But it's doing good at this point, so I'm just going to let it be. I'm going to push this back in and let it continue to cook. Our rice has cooked for the 10 minutes. Just look at that. Now you can testify there's no raw grain in here. It is fluffy. It is beautiful, gorgeous grains. Rice is done. Vegetables cooking. And the chicken is on course as well. So I'm making my vegetable. I shared the recipe for this about 6 weeks ago. And I'm going to link it right here for you. So the vegetable is actually almost done. At this point, all I'm going to be adding will be my onions, which I always like to put towards the very end, and some herbs. And for today, I'm going to be using some coriander. Sometimes I use parsley. And that will be it. And like I said, I'm going to link it here just in case you want to know exactly what went into it. This is very simple but also good. Our friends that I took some of this to, they enjoyed this vegetable. Very simple, not overcooked, and it was very, very well seasoned. So try that recipe. You will love it. So onions and cilantro here now, or the coriander, and I'm going to just stir this. Once this goes in, normally I'm done. I'm just going to turn off the flame. The residual heat is going to soften it a little bit, but I want especially the onions to maintain their beautiful color, so you have a pop of color in there. So this is done, and our chicken at this point is done too. It cooked here, so I said 375 degrees. I let it cook for an hour and a half in total. I'm going to apply some more of the juices of the chicken onto it just so it is shiny and beautiful. And that is pretty much it. This is not going back into the oven. It is perfectly cooked and ready for the table. This was so good. I really hope you're able to try this. I hope you picked something from this. Like I said, I'm going to link the recipe for the marinade up here for you. So please do check it out. So I took part of this meal to our friend who had just had a baby, and they enjoyed it, which made everything worth it. You know, the joys that you have when somebody enjoys your food. I live for that. So I hope you try it. I hope you enjoy it as well as they did. Thanks so much for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, why don't you just give me a thumb up? I will truly appreciate that. If this is your first time watching me, my name is Kwanchua, and making simple, replicable meals like this is what truly brings joy to my heart. And I hope you subscribe to my channel. And until I come your way next time with something delicious, be loving, be kind, be happy.